Welcome back to the Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Got Steve Beaman on with the Society for the Advancement of Financial Education. Great organization. We're helping to grow, helping people become more and more aware of what's happening out there in the business front. I got a couple of chambers of commerce who have now approached me. The Heights Chamber has approached me, and the Clear Lake Chamber about getting Steve on. So we're adding more and more venues. Have you done many chamber venues?
You know, we've been pleased to be welcomed by the Chamber of Commerce throughout the country because they, obviously supporting the business community, love to hear a message of hope and optimism. They love to understand that the government, yes, is a problem, but they can overcome it. And I think one of their concerns is that we continue to build a financially literate population because more intelligent customers make better customers.
Yeah, no question about it. No question about it. Back to the news, and there's a lot of it here. I mean, we could, like you said, we could spend the whole day just in our every day of the week talking about what's happening. So I was reading about a deck collapsing in Miami Beach, just collapsing there. And, of course, that was, I think, a privately owned deck, but it may have had some government connection. Then I heard about a bridge collapsing, about a week or so ago, and another bridge last month. You know, there's a lot of concern about America's infrastructure. I mean, this collapsing business seems to be happening with more frequency. Your thoughts about that?
Well, I think it's interesting. We actually had a situation in Philadelphia, too, where a major building problem happened. In fact, the building contractor, I think one of the guys for the government that do the approving of this just committed suicide because he got caught in the middle of it.
Wow.
Truly, Kevin, you know, we're an older nation now. We're much like a business that when its entrepreneurial days was growing, it was fresh, it was new. But we are older now. We've built most of the water piping in this country over the last 100 years. And I think we do need to address it. The problem, of course, isn't that government doesn't have the resources to do it. It's how it does it. And that's what gets people so angry. We have a construction project going on in my backyard in Wheaton, Illinois. It was a road construction project that was supposed to be done a year ago. But because of government, it's backed up and it's not done a year later and over budget. And that's the problem. So we need to bring these problems local. We need to get local governments to step up. And, yes, if people have to pay local taxes to fix local problems, they'll do that. Mm-hmm. But I think you and I would agree the problem is when you get the federal government involved, it just gets it so bureaucratic and so overblown it never happens.
So Governor Jan Brewer, something of a Tea Party darling, was able to push through Obama's Medicaid expansion through the legislature. What kind of darling is she?
I think you're going to see more and more dysfunctionality coming up as the Affordable Care Act is implemented over the summer. They just came out and said the average family is going to have a $2,000 deductible. And, I mean, how many middle-class and lower-income families can afford a $2,000 deductible? I mean, this is just ridiculous. So you're going to see a lot of this. You're pushing these Medicare and Medicaid costs in the states up to ridiculous levels. Again, looking just at Illinois where I live, we cannot afford the expansion of Medicaid that's going to take place. It's going to bankrupt the state, not that it's not already bankrupt. But this is all going to come back to haunt us. And I think as people see more of the Affordable Care Act, they're going to become more discerned about it or disconcerted, decoupled from it, I guess is a better word, because they're going to realize this is not what they thought it was. It's not what they hoped it would be. And this hope and change they bought into turned out to create fear and uncertainty.
Yeah, I call it hopeless change. But anyway,
there you go. That's a good one.
Yeah. So what about this? This kind of an interesting aside. A Nazi commander who led an SS unit has been living in Minnesota since World War II, and they've only just recently discovered that he was a leader of a very elite SS unit. I mean, come on, how old is that guy?
You know, if nothing else, Kevin, they can say we're entertaining, talking about stories from all over God's creation. Yeah, I just read about
I keep you on your toes, don't I? You have no idea what I'm going to throw. We do not prep in advance. This is why Steve Beaman, in my opinion, is one of the brightest guys out there. We just kind of randomly go right through the headlines. I get to be in the driver's seat. You know what? It's like a bad game show that you do very well at.
Well, I appreciate that, and I do hope that the people listening enjoy it. But, yeah, this is a situation where an old guy was just found who served as an SS guard, and we see these from time to time. We had one about 10 years ago out of Detroit. But the tragedy here, of course, is that it rekindles the pain and the agony felt by those who suffered through those camps. This guy clearly should be held accountable. This is not something where there's a statute of limitations. He should either be deported or imprisoned. I would deport him to Israel and let them deal with it. We cannot just simply say, well, you're an old man now, gee, all's forgotten. It's not forgotten. We did have a circumstance in which 6 million Jews were slaughtered, and we can never forget that. It will happen again if we do. So I'd say hold the man accountable, ship him to Israel, and let them deal with it.
Yeah, the guy's 94 years old. I'm surprised he didn't die by a heart attack just finding out he was being busted. But in the same vein, though, a little more current, the current Prime Minister of Israel is saying that the world is poised for another Holocaust, and it will be led by Iran. What do you think about that rhetoric?
I certainly understand it. We have to understand Iran has said they're going to wipe Israel off the face of the map, and Israel now is surrounded by Egypt, Syria, and Lebanon, that all of whom are hostile to it. They are all building weapons that are very strategically dangerous to Israel. And again, now Iran just had a new election. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, that wonderful guy, was voted out, but they voted somebody else in who's every bit as hardline as he is. And they are bound and determined to get nuclear weapons. They have said openly, we will use those against Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. So you can't blame the Israelis for worrying about it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Steve Beaman, I tell you, my time with you goes ridiculously fast. He originally was on months ago for one segment, but we just had to keep holding on to him because you bring so much content and information. And for those of you who are listening to this and going, what's this got to do with business? Let me tell you, every geopolitical event has a lot to do, particularly with your finances. And that's why I encourage you to keep listening to Steve Beaman and to become a part of the Society for the Advancement of Financial Education. You can email me at info@usdailyreview.com if you got questions about it, or you can go to stevebeamangroup.org. That's stevebeamangroup.org for more information. You did fabulous as usual. Thank you, my friend.
Hey, thank you, Kevin. Have a great week. It's a pleasure always to be on, and I welcome those folks to connect with you, and we love talking to the folks down in Houston.
Lots of fun. All right, when we come back, more for you. You're listening to The Price of Business.